You have such an interesting background, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about, what that journey was like to get here today. How did you end up in the seniors housing sector?
Well, I ended up in the senior housing sector by complete chance. It wasn't planned. It wasn't a straight path. I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry. And when I finished university, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I took a temp job as a clerk in a real estate development company. And that temporary job ended up being a 15-year position. I grew with the company and the company grew. I learned a lot about real estate, and I only left them when my hubby and I decided to immigrate to Canada. When we got to Canada, through my Israeli connections, I found a job in a real estate investment company. That company just happened to own 2 retirement homes. So that's how I got started, and we grew from these 2 to 8 over the years. So yeah, my background is not in seniors housing. I just found myself there.
It happened by chance.
Yes.
And home is Israel for you then?
Yes, Israel is where I am from, where my parents are, my siblings.
Yeah. And when did you move to Canada?
15 years ago.
So you did your bachelor's in chemistry in Israel, and then you worked there in the real estate world for some time. And then it was an easy transition to come to Canada and work in that same sector, the real estate sector.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Staying in the same general direction, made it easy. And the fact that I had Israeli friends who gave me my first opportunity was a real blessing.
And how did you find the seniors housing sector when you initially encountered it? Like, when you first heard about Greenwood, or when you started working there, what was that like?
So my experience with senior housing in Israel was just from visiting my grandmother at a retirement home. So really that's all I knew. And it is done very differently in Israel than it is here. All I know about senior housing is what I learned in Canada. It was interesting from the first encounter. The ED, the executive director in the first retirement home that I walked into in Canada, is still a friend.
That's awesome. So Canada has benefited tremendously from immigration. It contributes to our economy, our prosperity, our diversity. And you've had a successful career here as an immigrant, but for a lot of immigrants, it's extremely hard to find a decent job. Do you have any tips for making it successful here in Canada? Can you share a little bit about what that journey was like, some of your hardships, things that have helped you to, come to where you are today?
For sure. Immigration is hard. It's hard. It's leaving everything you know behind and starting from scratch. I describe it's like becoming a teenager again, because you have no credit history, no job history, no housing, nothing. You don't know the banking system, you don't know the school system, the healthcare, you know nothing. You need to redo your driver's license. It's very difficult. It takes a long time to find yourself. My one tip is, if you don't love your husband, don't do it together, because you need you need somebody to do this together with. And yeah, we were very lucky. This might sound a little harsh, but we are white and we had money in the bank and we speak English. So all the racism bits did not apply to us, even though still it was employers wanted Canadian experience. Even though my hubby's a PhD and I have a master's degree, but we didn't have Canadian history, Canadian job experience. We had some distant relatives in Canada, which really helped, because they could tell us, rent here, don't rent there. This is what a winter jacket is supposed to look like. Yes.
Yeah.
It was very good to have them.
How long did it take you to, sort of make Canada home, feel comfortable here?
Home is where your dishwasher is. So I would say first time we went back to Israel to visit, it was only 6 months after we got here, already when it was time to go from Israel back to Canada, it was to go home. You know, it's where your stuff is, where your bed is, where it was rather a quick, I feel at home here for me.
When did you start Greenwood? How long after arriving in Canada?
So I joined the company, which ended up becoming Greenwood very early on. So we got here in August. I think I started working in October or November. But yeah, it was through Israeli connections, somebody who I served in the army with. That's how all the Israelis know each other.
Yeah, it's so important, right? Connections are all we really need as human beings. And I can relate completely with your immigration experience because my family immigrated here and, you know, we came with literally 2 suitcases each. Like that's all we were allowed for your entire life. You're starting from scratch and it's so true. You need that support of your partner. Like for us, my family separated, like my parents ended up separating because there was just so much pressure with all the different changes. So that's a great, tip you have there. You have a great relationship with your husband, and that's been a core to the achievements you've had in your life. So do you have any tips for other leaders who, want to have a healthy relationship with their family, because it's not just at work, work translates into life in general. And they say it carries over. Like if you're not having a good relationship at home, it's really hard to focus at work and do a good job there.
I'm a real believer in trying to put yourself in other people's shoes to try to see things from their perspective. I find I do that a lot, and every now and then, hubby and I fight. There are things we don't agree on, but I always sit there and think, what is he seeing? What is he thinking? How does this look from his perspective? And a lot of time that just takes the wind out of me. Yeah, there's no point in arguing this. I can see what he's seeing. Right. And I think that's true for every relationship you have. Anything that you do not want to be done to you, don't do to others. If you don't like your boss, ask yourself, what is your boss doing that you don't like? Don't do that.
Yeah, or don't do that to your future team, right?
Yes, or to your kids or to your husband.
Yeah.